and that was funny because I was gonna bring that up. The same thing I was sitting there, like running that through my head, because the next film that we're getting ready to talk about just released, and it was straight up crazy. You haven't been able to see it yet, but it was Final Destination
Right.
Bloodlines.
Right.
And so there's so many mixed reviews on that. I had a great time at the theater. I was able to check it out on IMAX. Me and my daughter had gone. It holds up to the franchise, but they just did something a little different. And so, I had told you I enjoyed it. And then, I said, okay, well, let me see. How can I place this? And I brought up someone's review, and then I put up to another one because you look at the two things where it's like our buddy Doug that was on the show before, he absolutely enjoyed it. You know what I
That
mean?
shocks me.
Yes. So shout out to Doug. Um,
Because
and that's the
he's
thing.
hated a lot of movies that we liked.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
but we have a mixture. Me and Doug have a love for, Friday the 13th, Jason Takes Manhattan. So I trust, there's like little points where I could sit there
Yeah.
and be like, okay, I can bounce it off to Dave and say, hey, this person hated it, this person loved it, and then like we always find ourselves somewhere in the middle or of
Yep.
something, of giving something a chance or kind of being the same way. But for Final Destination, Bloodlines, I was on the fence because, like I said, whenever I go to IMAX, it always gets an extra like half star because of just the
It's the
experience
experience.
kind of throws it on. And, I was on that fence of like giving it a 4, and I'm like, wait, it's a little bit too high. And I'm like, all right, 3.5 is suitable for that. And I'm like, because I had a good time. But man, the kills in that film are just so nuts. And then seeing it on that big screen, and just, there was that moment where we see Tony Todd on the screen,
Yeah.
and just that moment alone, I think it crushed a lot of people, you know what I mean? Because even, his acting that he just left was kind of just like, okay, like, we talked about him kind of being sick. I
Yeah.
think that this was that he know that this was probably his last project, and he kind of puts that out there, kind of like, you know what I mean? And I think it was like a good, send off for him. And I think that a lot of people will remember that scene forever. And even when you talk with some people, the people are just like, well, that was the best part of that movie for me. That didn't
I
like the
don't
movie.
I don't know if this is true, but I read a headline today, and I
Mm,
obviously I haven't seen it, so I don't know exactly what this, what it pertains to. But there
hmm.
was a dialogue that he gives or a speech that he gives. I
Yeah.
read that it was unscripted.
Oh, was it?
That
Yeah.
I mean, it was a headline I read, so right
I'm,
there, I'm kind of putting that out there that I can't verify this,
yeah.
but I read it was unscripted.
Dude, I'm telling you,
That
man,
Yeah.
that
So I don't know if
that
that adds another element to the scene itself, if you
that's
know
crazy.
that. So
That's
just
crazy
something to
because
think
you could
about.
feel it, because you could feel it, because you could feel it. And I mean, that's something that I had going home with, like kind of thinking, like, shit, man, like just that, like the conversations and everything that we had with him, and it definitely hit on that, like that home street, because it was just like he was just straight up talking to you, like,
So I'm actually looking it up right now, and it's on numerous
hmm,
websites, IGN, Screen Rant, that he goes off script with his final goodbye or an
yeah.
unscripted bittersweet speech. So things like that. So it does sound like that could be a true statement right there.
That was dope then. You know what I mean? That was dope because just to even hear that, because I didn't look that up or I didn't see that, but just that added, you know,
Yeah,
little
it's a little thing there.
that's crazy. So I had a great time though, so I know there's some people the film's not for them, or even the franchise might not even be for them.
I think that's a
But
big thing for people to acknowledge too, because like you can
yeah,
like the first film and the second film,
yeah,
and then the third and fourth and fifth might not have connected as much for you. And if that's you, it's like the Saw movies. You can
yeah,
like one and two, and the rest. That doesn't mean you're a huge Saw franchise person. It just means you like the two like original installations. So I think some
yeah.
people need to just acknowledge that maybe those films aren't necessarily for them. I mean, five as for me, I think five. I can't remember if four or five was the one that I liked the least of the Final Destination movies, but even that I still found entertaining and enjoyed.
Oh yeah, they're
You
all
know, so
the
it's
kills are just like so nuts, and just the whole setup. And
yeah.
I love what they did with this one, setting up like a family. So, um, It was pretty cool, So if you haven't seen it yet, definitely go check it out on the big screen. See it in IMAX if you can. Because even though also Mark gave it a 4.5. You know what I mean? So he had a great time. We were
Whoa,
talking
yeah.
about it, and I'm telling you, man, it
And I
was a
trust
good
Mark
time.
too, because
Oh
Mark
yeah,
always gives pretty decent. And he also takes into consideration like fun factor
yeah,
and like experience that he had with it. So and that's typically how I kind of look at things too.
yeah. You have to, what I mean. So it's like I said. IMAX, Dave, IMAX.
Yeah,
Don't take
yeah,
it to any other screen because like I say it to everybody all the time. Like if a film is made for IMAX, make sure you see it because you're not going to get the same experience on the other screen. And and I'm sorry if you don't have IMAX in your area because some theaters are not, able to have them.
yeah,
But, like I said, when I went to go see Nope on a regular screen, it didn't hit the same.
yeah. I bet.
And even, I seen Sinners 4 times. Three out of the four were in IMAX, and I just went to go see it the other night. I had taken my daughter, and I just seen it on the regular screen. And it's a great movie still, but it's the IMAX
It's not the
experience
same.
takes it to a whole nother level,
Yeah. I
so
I've met a lot of like just like non horror fans
hmm
recently that have saw it in the regular theater, and I
yeah,
feel like they didn't connect to it or they didn't get like. But part of me is thinking like, oh, they also didn't get that experience that we had of watching it at IMAX and just kind
yeah,
of being immersed in it. So I think that has something to do with some of the people's takeaways from it.
yeah.